Bum, bum, bum.
Welcome to the family, the Tom Bernard podcast with
Co-host Catherine Brandt.
Andy Brandt Bernard.
And Kristen Burt.
See, there you go. You know what I'm going to do, basically? This has been a suggestion from some listeners. I'm going to tell Alex that the show now starts at 9:45 in the morning.
No, tell her 8 a.m. Then
Yeah,
she'll be here
seriously.
for sure by 10:30.
It's unbelievable.
Oh, just so everyone knows, somebody was listening to our growing peas conversation yesterday and messaged me that peas like cool, damp weather.
Cool, damp weather. That's
So they
exactly
usually
right.
are harvested by June.
Well, then how come they grow in July, where Mrs. Buckley lives?
That's right.
July is not cool.
July.
So now we know about peas.
That's very, very true. There's no question about it. So that's that deal. Kristen Burt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC equal housing lender. You know, Kristen, it's got to be like this out in Los Angeles as well. But as soon as the 1st of July comes around, for the next 2 weeks, nobody goes anywhere or does anything in Minnesota. It's just weird.
Well,
Everyone's
it's because
gone.
it's finally warm. So
Well, maybe, yeah.
Well, and Minnesotans need to escape the 80-degree heat and go up north someplace where
that's
it's
about
only
right.
70 degrees.
Yep.
But it's like a big 2-week holiday. Not one day. It's a big 2-week holiday.
Yeah.
There's no
I love it. People leave Los Angeles. I love staying here for a holiday like the 4th of July because traffic clears out.
That's
Nobody's
Yeah.
in town. You can go to your favorite brunch spot and they're like, right away, here's your table instead of it's an hour and a half wait.
I've always liked shopping and things, getting errands done on Vikings games on Sundays
Oh,
because
yeah.
nobody's around. It's great. It's just like, oh,
Great.
look, I can get anywhere and do anything.
God, it's so amazing that the town is just pretty much cleared out, and it's only Wednesday. The 4th of July is still a couple of days away, but I mean, all of next week's going. That's why we take the week off after the 4th of July, because nobody's ever around anyway.
So we're off next week.
So we're off next week.
Yes,
Oh, I thought
we
you knew
are.
that.
Nope. Nobody
Oh.
told me.
Well, now
And
you
you
know.
didn't tell her?
Nope.
Why is it my responsibility?
Well, who
Someone
else
has
did
to
you
tell
You're
me.
the one that told everybody.
I mean, I thought we mentioned it on the show. I thought we mentioned it while she was on the show.
Oh, well, now we have.
Now we have, so now she knows. So you get tomorrow and tomorrow and Friday off.
Oh, that's
Oh,
also
that's-
news. Okay.
Minnesotans. No, I did tell you that personally. We're not going.
I knew Friday was off. I didn't know tomorrow was off.
Yeah, Thursday and Friday. Literally in Minnesota, you get near the 4th of July, you may as well take off the next 10 days because nobody's going to come in and do anything anyway. It just doesn't happen.
It's
So
true.
we're back. Let me just look at this. What's the date then? Just so I know.
15th?
The 14th.
14th. All
That's
right. The
Monday.
14th, we're back.
Yes.
Oh, here's an exciting development.
Mhm.
Jude just received his first email.
Jude?
Jude.
Yes. The Tom Bernard podcast Gmail account.
Yeah.
Jude, 545 First Street North has a cash offer. It's for Jude Brandt, and it is at my house that I lived in like 3 houses ago.
So you just got his
Really?
first spam.
Yeah.
His
there you
first
go.
email
So-
and it's spam. What do
yeah,
you know?
so the house that he has never lived in, and it's for Jude Brandt for some reason. I don't
That
know
is
why.
Very weird.
Yeah. Well, so there you go.
That's
Jude,
Maybe
you
he'll
got-
get his first brand deal and he can be a
Got
social
your
media
cash on.
star.
Yeah, there you go.
He
There
could.
you
He's
have it.
cute enough. He's sure he is. He's like walking around with a rock star everywhere you go. People are like,
Jude.
"Oh my god, he's
Yeah,
so cute! Can I
they
pet
sure
him?"
are.
My cats do brand deals all the time. They've made lots of money.
Oh,
Really?
see, there you go.
Yeah. I use them all the time for like little cat treats and, food, litter.
Nice.
I
They
don't
might
know
as well
why
earn
they-
their keep here.
Absolutely. All those vet bills are expensive.
That's
You've
right.
been here, Andy, for what, 5 years?
Let's see. Well, we moved into this building in 2018,
Well, upstairs.
but we were on the 5th floor.
For a couple of years, yeah.
And if that, it was like a year, I think.
So we found out
So
that
it's
the
about 6
landlord
years.
wasn't paying the
Mhm.
Yeah, we paid him, but
The
he
building.
didn't pay the
Yep,
building.
someone owned the 5th floor, like the whole 5th floor,
Yep.
and just
Oh,
did not
Minnesota.
pay his rent or mortgage or whatever it was.
Yep.
And so we all got evicted.
Wonderful.
So it's been 6 years sitting in this studio. They're always drilling something, and I don't know. There's nothing over there.
I think
Yeah.
that they're constantly people are moving in, moving out,
Yeah,
and
probably.
redoing space all the time. So It's just in these great big buildings, you hear it could be on the exact opposite corner, and you're going to hear it.
No,
over
that's
here.
true.
It's
For the
crazy to think
vents.
that we have been in this area, like this small area,
Yeah.
for more than half of the life of the show now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Acme comedy days were long ago.
That was a long time. Well, that was 2018. That's when we moved out.
Your dad almost
7 years.
made me spit out my coffee this morning in the elevator. He's like, so I got this email and it was like a questionnaire from the government. I'm like, oh my God, what did you fill out? What did you
I
say?
didn't fill it out.
He's like, it says that I have 5 more years to live.
That's what it said.
I almost spit my coffee all over the elevator.
The government says you have 5
the
years
drama.
to live. That's rather ominous.
It says if you're an average American man, I have, I think it's 5 years and 3 days to live.
Not 3 days.
Wow. That's
No,
very specific.
I don't know what that's all about, but they sent it to me this morning. I'm like, okay, well, that's really good.
I would warn everybody with the big, beautiful bill.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all
passing
about. Yep.
that there's going to be so much fear mongering, and there already has been. What's his name? Is it Cory Booker?
Cory Booker.
He
Yeah.
has just been fear mongering.
All he does
like
is fear mongering. He's one of
crazy.
those people who just like his entire career is fear
Yeah, and
mongering.
scam artists seize on that stuff, and they start sending emails about all of those things. So I would
Your
be
savings are going
very-
to get wiped out unless you buy our product.
Yeah, be very careful,
You might not be able to get health care unless you buy our product.
or worse. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
So yeah, be careful opening up anything that says it's from the
Yep.
government right now.
Well, if I'm going to tip in 5 years, I may as well just give it
5
up.
years, 3 days.
5
3
years.
days.
Mark it on the calendar.
So
see
July
if that's the day he
5th,
dies.
2030 then.
Yeah,
Okay
that's
then.
I'm
July
supposed to die
5th.
that
Wow.
I'm gonna put it on my
Okay.
calendar. Tom
Predicted day.
dies.
Tom dies.
Tom dies is so morbid, you guys. That's awful.
Good God.
Well, I know. That's why I almost spit out my coffee. I'm like, first of all, how dramatic are we?
A
You know,
little
what's
bit.
you know what's funny about that? Most people would be terrified by that, but you have to remember,
You're like, finally.
I had 3
Sweet
friends that
release.
were murdered. 3 of my uncles were murdered. Well, 2.
Yeah, but you're not
great
really
uncles.
You're not really rum running and
Yeah, that's the thing.
No, I'm not doing any of
They
the
weren't
stuff.
Not
murdered
doing
for
any of
no
that stuff.
reason. Let's put it that way.
Oh, they were not murdered for no reason. You're right about that. But almost all my friends from when I was at St. Anne's and St. Joseph's are dead. There's like 3 of them left. It's just in North Minneapolis. If I still lived in North Minneapolis, I might not even be alive now.
maybe not. But
Mhm.
you're
You never know.
here. You are.
It is
Here I
a
am.
thing I've found. Like, I don't know if it's exaggerated because every TV show where there's like a middle-aged or older man in it, there's always an episode about like my dad died when he was, 83 and 47 days.
Yep.
And so that's exactly when I'm going to die. And I'm going to put my will together because I'm coming up on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I think it does happen in real life. A lot of men specifically, like they think that
will themselves to die.
they think that they will live to be exactly as old as their dad for
Well.
some reason. I don't know why.
Well, thank God I didn't believe that because he died at 60. So that would not have been good.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
young.
My parents lived into their 90s, and
Yep.
we all assumed that we were going to end up living forever. But
Yeah,
it's-
one of you didn't.
Yeah,
That's,
One of you
exactly.
didn't.
We all thought we were going to live forever.
Well, that's the thing. Turns out decisions have consequences. How
They
well
do.
you take
You're
care of
absolutely
yourself
right.
can very much influence how long you
Health
live.
definitely does. Because my grandparents all died on the younger side,
Oh,
and
yeah.
my parents have easily outlived both sets
Yeah,
of their
there you
parents. So yeah.
Well, it's not like your dad was the healthiest person for a while,
no,
but he got healthy later.
Yeah.
Like, when did he stop drinking?
he was in his 50s.
That's the time to stop drinking, honestly, because it gives your liver enough time to recover and everything.
Yeah,
And
that's
he
true.
didn't smoke. Well, he smoked when he was back from the war for a while, and then he just did like pipes and cigars, like all the guys did back in those
Well,
days.
that's just because
Yeah.
4 out of 5 doctors said he should. So
That's true. They didn't
Yeah.
really think
That's
that.
very, very true.
But even the most basic thing, like taking a walk for 30 minutes every day, will actually have you live longer. It's
And
That's what I
really
do, yeah.
They always
I do.
golf.
your
they always-
parents walked a lot.
They when they golfed, they walked until they were really old. And then my dad also went to the pool and did his little
Yeah.
jogging in the pool every
Oh,
single day.
yeah.
oh, that's fun.
He wasn't like a crazy workout person, but he certainly
You don't need to
moved
crazy
around.
workout. You
Just need to
you
keep
can't-
the body moving.
Yep,
Well,
exactly.
they're actually saying that people that are crazy workout
Oh, that's
people,
bad for you too.
That's actually worse for
Yes,
you.
it's very hard
sometimes.
on your joints and on your system, your capillaries and everything.
Oh
to
yeah,
start.
like
Yeah.
CrossFit constantly. And
Yeah, you can
stuff,
do that when you're very young.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do that past, I don't know, maybe even your 40s.
And
Because
even
it's
too
high
much,
intensity.
yeah, and even too much aerobic exercise dumps cortisol in your body, and
Mhm.
that's not good
Yeah,
either.
they tell it,
A
especially
certain
for
amount.
women moving into perimenopause, menopause, all those HIIT workouts are not good for you.
Right.
Yep.
Which
It's funny
is
you
surprising.
mentioned your dad not smoking, because that's one of those things that a story he told at least a few times is that the reason he stopped smoking is because he became an insurance claims adjuster.
Right.
And he saw all of the, like, they'd have these
Actuarial
giant tables of like these people, like what they do. Like they'd know what they ate for breakfast, how many times they blinked in a day, and they'd make all of the correlations. And he saw these tables and he was like, smoking is killing so many people. I have to stop. And he just did.
Yep.
And it's like when you're confronted with that kind of data, it makes sense. Because a lot of people never see that sort of thing. They'll just be like, oh, I know it's kind of bad for me, but so is watching TV. So whatever. But
Yeah, everything's an algorithm.
yes, everything
How
is
you live is an
everything is
algorithm.
data. And when you see the data firsthand, you really it can strike you.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
Got all the people on X today had me cooking. We were laughing and joking about, because we were, I don't know how it even came up. Oh, maybe I don't think I mentioned that 78 thing on
Not that you're
What?
dying in 5 years and 3
5
days.
years. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't think I mentioned that on there. But
78.
all these people, and they remember from 35, 37 years ago me talking about my mother. And they asked me this morning if I'd tell more stories about my mother.
Toots.
So I was talking about Toots. And my favorite thing about my mother, because it came up because, and I won't even say who the politician is, but there's a politician that claims that they grew up very poor in a certain area, and they didn't. They lived there, I think, for like 2 years or 3 years.
Everybody's
No.
dunking on AOC because she
That's
says she
who it
grew up
is,
in the
yes.
Bronx. And then Gavin Newsom said he grew up in a 1-bedroom house and he had to share a hallway with his sister. But they also had to rent out the second bedroom. So it's like, is it a 1-bedroom house or is it a 2-bedroom house? Could you get these two stories straight?
It's kind of like when people talk about how Warren Buffett still lives in his childhood home despite being a billionaire.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, it's his childhood home, just like the modest house that he's been keeping up.
No.
No, it's actually rather large.
It's a huge house, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's not like his family was ever like these, like, humble dirt farmers or anything.
Yeah, they like to make it sound like they had nothing.
But
yes.
One of the great things that I brought up, people just say, talk more about your mother. I want to hear about your mother. And I'm like, okay. Because we actually did grow up very poor. I'm not making that up at all. We had no money. My father wasn't around, and then he died anyway after that. But I mean, it does bother you when you grew up that poor and then other people claim that they grew up the same way, and it wasn't even close to the same. I remember one time I said, Mom, she got home from her diner, the waitress deal. I said, Mom,
diner waitress deal.
we got a guy came to our door this morning and said, they're going to evict us. Did you know that? And she looked at me and said, yeah, that my ass knows. What does that even mean?
That's like saying no duh.
It's just unbelievable. Then
Now, sometimes she said things that you'd think English was her second language.
Yeah, she did.
But it wasn't.
Yeah, I
was
can't
kinda like,
feature that. She would say, I can't feature that instead of I can't
I can't
picture that.
feature that.
It's
She did
picture she was trying to say.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah.
feature that.
the way that she said things, sometimes I was like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
I think
Just
that's
make up her
long,
own language. It's all good.
I think it might be Long Prairie local.
Well, I mean, she was born in what, 1920 or something?
1920.
1920.
August
Yeah.
I mean,
25th.
people talked, like, if you read like comics, because they had comics back in 1920, not
Sure.
a ton of them, but they had them. And if you read them, it sounds like a bad translation of English
Yeah, it
because they
does.
just talked
Yeah.
differently
It's
100
did.
years ago.
I read Amelia Earhart's autobiography.
Mhm.
The way that she spoke, I was like, this woman is like all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the way she said things, I was like, what is happening?
Well, even just watching movies from the 40s, just even though clipped manner,
Yeah,
that way
yeah.
everyone speaks. It's so
Yeah.
interesting to see how it's all changed. So
Yep.
Well,
It's
we've been
all
watching
true.
Mobland, and some of the stuff that he
Oh
says,
my
you're like, what is
God.
he talking about? Run up the back and blah, blah, blah. It's like,
I
what
know,
are
it's
I don't
very
even.
odd.
It's all local sayings.
Diddy was found guilty on prostitution charges.
Oh,
Shocking.
Not guilty
Yes.
of racketeering
Oh my God, he didn't get the big
or
one.
sex trafficking.
Yep,
Oh,
they
he
did
didn't
not
do
get him on the big ones at all. It's
Nope.
kind of shocking. And he
Oh, my
faces
God.
just with the prostitution charges, which and they're just two lesser prostitution charges. I mean, he is it's just transportation to engage in prostitution. He faces 20 years for both of those charges.
He won't get it.
He
No.
won't get it. They're gonna but had he been charged with RICO as well as sex trafficking, it would have been life in prison. And I
Life,
feel
yeah.
like he got off very, very easily.
Well, what
Transportation.
happened with all of the minors? I thought he was trafficking minors, and this wasn't even brought
No,
up
he
in
was
the
not
case.
guilty of sex trafficking, apparently.
No, but they never brought up the pedophile stuff. I don't understand. Is that going to be?
I had never heard anything of the pedophilia.
Oh, a lot of people are saying that he was
Yeah.
abusing Justin Bieber and all of this
Oh,
Yeah, the Justin Bieber thing. Yeah.
Justin Bieber said nothing happened. So
Oh.
and without
There
his
you go.
cooperation, all right, and Usher would have been another one who would have stepped forward because
Yeah.
he was also underage working with Diddy. He said nothing happened. And whether it did or didn't, we'll never know. It's up to them to tell their story. And but I do think, I mean, I look at it, I'm like, we all saw that video. That video was, at
Yeah.
least of him abusing Cassie was pretty atrocious and pretty traumatizing to watch. I'm really curious how this all plays out. Because if he gets a couple of years probably, and then he's
Yeah.
going to
Mhm.
walk,
Yeah.
what happens to him after? Like who has the balls to go out there and work with him again?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and look
Mhm.
at but I started watching. I finished 3 episodes out of the 4 of the Jeffrey Epstein
Oh God.
show.
Oh,
And
The
Nothing.
Jeffrey Epstein show. Sounds
Yeah.
fun.
Docu-series. He means docu-series.
I mean, when he went to prison for the first time for 2 years, he was on work release and only had to sleep in the prison.
Yeah.
And then when he was on probation, he was flying out of the country all the time, down
Yeah.
to his island and everything.
Yep.
And the
And-
probation officer kept on bringing it up. And what did they say? They said, he's a celebrity. What are we going to do? So, I mean, yeah.
And he was throwing parties within a matter, once he was completely off probation, he was throwing parties again at his New York townhouse.
And all these
and-
people were coming.
Everybody was showing up. Everybody, every A-list name you can possibly imagine.
It boggles the mind how people can be this filthy. I just don't understand.
Well, and if you
get away
don't
with
know, you
it.
have to know who you're associating with in this era. That's the other thing.
Do they
Yeah, I
care?
suppose that's
Do they
true.
even care? I don't
Well,
think they
where do
care.
you want him to sit, Andy? Here or there?
I don't know how well
Yeah.
his
It's always
first,
better 'cause you want to set
Sorry.
him up.
I don't know how much his first case was
you,
publicized to
what?
everyone.
Oh, the
Nothing.
first time when he first went to prison, you mean?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like it was a very Florida case, and I'm not sure that everyone in New York City kind of knew. But again, as the allegations started surrounding him,
Oh.
you better not be hanging out at his townhouse having cocktails.
I don't know. I'm guessing it had to make the national news.
We're talking
But did
about
you-
you, by the way. You're
We
like-
didn't. People didn't know who
you
Epstein
should
was
be in
during the.
prison, you know.
Yeah. Well, you got me.
You got me, man.
A lot of people didn't know who Epstein was after the first case. I think
Didn't?
it took some time. A lot of people didn't. I mean, mainstream wise, absolutely not.
I still love the. Was it Prince Andrew that hung out with him?
Oh,
Prince Andrew.
What is that?
And the thing is that he never ever accepted culpability for that, but he
No,
paid
he didn't.
out to the victim, the alleged victim, because he's never been convicted, of course, but about $10 million. And actually, he didn't have the money to pay for. So King Charles and Queen Elizabeth paid that
Oh.
money using royal funds to the victim, who actually died by suicide just, a month ago?
Unbelievable.
Yeah, she was on the show.
Yeah.
She was on
Oh, it's
that
so sad.
series. Yeah.
Yeah. So sad what happened to her. Her life was never the same after everything.
No, it really wasn't. Wasn't she the one that moved to Australia because she just wanted to get away from the United States?
She did. And then she came forward with everything. And I'll tell you, the royal family is just as evil as everything else. They
I
really
agree.
push the narrative that, Prince Andrew did nothing. And, of course, at the same time, they moved him out of the royal ranks. He's no longer a working royal. He's not getting any money from some of the royal funds. He just basically has to live off what he has. But at the same time, he's fine. He's going to be fine.
Poor baby.
I know, exactly.
Poor baby. Oh my God. So you have the full picture, Trevor, of everybody on there?
Yep.
You see the background for my daughter?
Yeah.
4th of July.
Everybody else just has normal stuff every day. Yesterday, what was she? A bed of flowers or something?
Yes.
She was waffles on Monday.
Yeah, waffles on Monday. So that was good. That all works out well. So I don't know. It's just, I was just trying to think more of that. I don't know if I want to even talk more about that. People like Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein and all these horrible human beings.
Well, the Diddy thing brought it all up.
No, I understand.
Diddy thing did it, yeah, but they are very, it's rare for these people to be held accountable. Diddy's essentially getting a slap on the wrist. Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. I say that with air quotes because there's just too many weird things that happen.
Well, and also, so there's 2 people in jail for trafficking, no one to nobody, because nobody's been named.
Yeah.
We've been promised this list for, I don't even know, 5 years. Haven't gotten one name. It's insane.
Now, Kristen now lives in Los Angeles, but she lived here. How long did you live here?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, so I want you to guess where Trevor's from if I tell you his last name. You ready?
Okay.
Trevor is from where? His last name is Anderson.
I don't know.
Is this a trick question?
That would be pretty much
He's from Minnesota.
Are there
Oh,
any-
is it? I was like, we had a ton of Andersons. I grew up around a ton of Andersons in New England.
Oh, I suppose that's
say.
probably true. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
one of the most
Pretty
common last names.
Yeah. They all left Minnesota
They all
to
love
go to New England.
I went to New England. It's a little warmer, slightly.
There's some oceans and stuff.
Absolutely. That works out beautifully. So, Kristen, did you guys figure out everything you needed to figure out about what you were talking about there?
Yes, we figured everything out.
I want to know what.
Well, then
I don't know what we're figuring out.
No, she just
Very vague.
Kristen just told us that Diddy's probably going to get about 2 years in prison instead of life.
Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's not enough.
No, it's not.
I agree with you. It's not enough.
The 2 charges, he was found guilty of or carry a sentence of 20 years, but of course that's going to be up to the judge. And we should know if he's walking out today because they may just let him out until his sentencing. So he may be walking out of jail today around 1 p.m. Eastern time.
Well, invest in baby oil.
So
Ugh.
Gross, Mom. What is wrong with you?
that's really a nice touch. I try to get familiar because Trevor and I have never met, and I try to get familiar with people. So, like him, have you ever punched a woman in the face and then started kicking her when she was on the ground?
No, I haven't.
And
You
I'm
had
pretty
one?
sure he would admit it on a podcast.
Yeah.
Right,
If
yeah.
he
You got the cameras dialed in.
With 2 women.
Yeah.
Yes,
Two women sitting right there.
Yes.
And then pay the hotel off.
Every
Pay
weekend.
Yeah.
He
The
did
door
his
just
my
locks
BFF.
behind me.
Yeah.
You're like, oh no.
Yeah, exactly.
Pay the hotel security $50,000 to confiscate the video.
Yeah.
Here's a question
Oh
I
my
do have for everybody, and I'm very serious about this. If I had behaved anywhere near like that, I would have never been able to look my mother in the eye again. I couldn't look at my own mother.
Well, it's a special kind of a narcissism
Well, I suppose
that
it
you
is.
think that
they
you can just
care.
use and abuse anybody. And apparently, if you're big enough and have enough money,
Yeah.
You
you're
get away
famous
with
enough,
it.
you can. So they're just all going, hey, you know what? This is a fun power trip.
Yeah,
'Cause
those
it's-
people are so detached from reality.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
they
like,
are. That's
They have
true.
no idea.
That notion, like, oh, I'll just pay 50 grand to get the
Mhm.
security. Like,
Yeah.
if I had
Right.
50 grand, I
And
would
the only thing Combs's legal team had to do was to prove that the prosecutor's case wasn't strong enough. That's all they had to prove to the jury.
Ah,
Yeah.
And the jury can walk away saying, well, there were some threads of like, I thought maybe he was guilty on this charge, but they didn't give us the evidence. That's all one side has to
give
prove.
the evidence.
technically,
Wow.
if the prosecution, bungles hard enough, then you can get away with anything.
Unbelievable. Nice city you live in there, Kristen.
It's New York.
Yeah.
That's right.
That
He
was a
did-
New York trial. That wasn't an LA trial. So don't look at me.
That's right. But he did have a house in LA too, right?
He does have a house in LA that's
He
up
still
for
does.
sale. I don't know who would want it because, again, that
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
you
Burn it down.
can't sage that house enough to
Yeah.
clear the bad energy.
Burn it down.
Just burn it down.
Absolutely.
That's it.
That's the only right answer.
Yeah. Start all over again.
Do not understand how you get to be that kind of a person. How did he even get to be like that?
Like I
It makes
said,
no
you're
sense.
just becoming 100% narcissist.
Yeah, I guess.
Narcissism.
Everybody is just there for you to use and abuse. Doesn't matter to them.
There's
Does he-
also some allegations around his sexuality that maybe he has not confronted yet that manifests
okay.
itself. That, you know, he's maybe more interested in men than women based off of the evidence that came out of that trial.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I don't know. The guy has zero talent. How did he make all that money? I mean, he's not good at all.
He was a good producer. He was a good music
Oh, was he?
producer. Yeah.
Well,
He
Yeah,
was
he
not
was-
a good music
There's not
create,
that,
like,
no.
yeah,
No, he was not.
musician, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, but he was creating music for artists that was successful and, you know, a part of the sound of the 90s, particularly. You know, he
Yeah.
helped set that tone. The East Coast, West Coast rap.
Mm,
Yep.
And the chicken tastes like wood. You mean that great stuff like that?
what the hell are you talking
Oh,
about?
I don't even know.
That's Sugar
Don't
Hill
say
Gang,
it.
right?
That's Sugar Hill Gang.
Yeah.
Very good, Trevor. Sugar Hill Gang.
Oh, that's from
exactly-
Rapper's Delight?
Rapper's Delight.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like it's like verse 8 or something.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you're here. Trevor.
They did not have an
Backing
edit
me up.
button back in the
Holy
early days of hip hop.
Crap, there are a lot of. Actually, I think you might be right. It might literally be. It is literally verse 8.
I want to
Wow.
say that was a guess. I'm not coming in here as like
He knows
a Sugar Hill
every
aficionado.
single-
Now you look like a genius.
Yeah.
And I did notice being in radio back in those days. I think it was what year was that, Andy?
Year was what? Sugar Hill Gang,
Sugar Hill
Rapper's
Gang.
Delight?
Yeah.
Let's see. It was early. I know that
79?
much.
I thought it was like late
79.
80s, actually.
Nope, 79.
He's
So-
like, I'm just guessing.
I mean,
I don't know.
in college, I lived with some roommates that had like a old school record turntable, and we would just
Oh yeah.
comb through the Goodwill piles of, you know, basically like church choirs.
Yeah.
You know, that's the Goodwill record selection, and then
Yeah.
you'd find some good ones. We're like, oh, Sugar Hill Gang. So we had it. And it's kind of a good Sunday morning making pancakes kind of vinyl. You know, throw it on.
Here's my Trevor Anderson impression. I'm guessing the 12-inch short version is about 6 minutes, 30 seconds long.
Could be
Oh,
off.
there you go. I did notice on KUXL, which is that even on the air anymore? KUXL radio.
I do not know what
Never
that
heard
is.
of it.
It's-
It was
I
like
never-
the-
in the first place.
It was a,
What's a radio?
yeah. What's a radio? That's exactly right. KUXL was the first black station in Minneapolis, St. Paul. It
Doesn't look like. There's a KXL in Portland.
no KUXL was what
Oh.
was the original.
I don't
And the reason I
know.
remember that is because when Sugar Hill Gang came out, there was a guy that did afternoons that couldn't say sugar. He said sugar. The Sugar
Huh.
Hill Gang.
Yeah.
Sugar. It's not sugar.
Oh, here we go. KDIZ-AM, 1570 AM in Golden Valley,
That's it.
Minnesota. Yep.
That's it.
Oh.
It hasn't been
But-
KUXL in quite some time. 1988, it looks like.
Whoa.
Trevor knew that.
Yeah.
Trevor knew that. He's about 18 years old.
It is
but-
an interesting you want to talk about like the evolution of narcissism and stuff within hip hop, and you know, looking at this screen, we're probably not the 6 people to discuss this, but in the vinyl
Very
notes
good.
of the Sugar Hill Gang, you know, EP, it's their first record that came out. It's like they had bios for everyone, and one of them was like Big Bang Hank loves working at the pizza place. Like they list his day job as like a credit. And I just
Rapper-
it's something so wholesome about that.
Rapper
That's so
wasn't
cute,
like a
actually.
thing back then. Like
Cute.
the idea of being a rapper was like specific to certain locations. No one outside of those locations knew what a rapper was, and even if they
Right.
knew what a rapper was, they didn't respect it. It's not like now where it's like if you're a rapper, you're, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars if you make the right deal. Back then, it was you were literally just like a bunch of guys who wanted to make a song.
All right. Kristen has other jobs to do. She's going to bail on us now. Typical.
You're bailing on me.
That's true.
Yeah,
we're
we're
bailing
bailing.
for a
You
week.
are bailing on me for the next week and a half.
Week and a half, we're going to be
Yay.
off. But honest to God, it's unbelievable.
You can't miss us if we don't go away.
That is true.
Okay. There you go.
Happy 4th, everyone.
Have a
Happy
wonderful
4th.
10 days, and we'll talk to you a week from Monday.
Sounds good. I think I'll be in Boston, so I will see you
Oh,
from
nice.
Boston.
Oh,
Oh boy,
Ooh.
they'll do it up in Boston too.
Yeah, super fancy. No, I'm clearing out the estate, so got a lot of work to do. I know.
Clear out the
Oh
estate.
yeah, that's not.
Oh, that
Nope,
won't be
never fun. Did it once. I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of work.
We
It
will
is.
talk to you in 10 days.
See you then.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
All right.
Kristen Bird Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. We will take a break. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Trevor is going to take over from now. Where are you from originally, Trevor?
I was born in Wisconsin, but
Wisconsin.
to Minnesota parents. So
Oh, so
growing up a Vikings fan in Wisconsin was.
So you have an inner turmoil at all times.
It
Oh
builds
my God.
character, your dad says.
We'll be right back with Trevor right after this. From Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. What's up, Allie?
Oh, not much. Doing my usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands-free, but you can't have your phone in your hand for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget. And now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
It's Tom for Wellshire Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Facilities. Wellshire Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Facilities are a place where your loved one will live with pride and dignity. If you care deeply about someone in your life, Wellshire is the place I highly recommend. Wellshire is a memory care focused facility that has a full nursing team, always staffed within the building 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They have never used or relied on any staffing agencies. Wellshire of Medina is now accepting elderly waivers after 12 months of private pay. Again, I know them personally. 2 generations of them, as a matter of fact. They are a family-owned local company conveniently located right in Medina and Bloomington. They're the best staffed memory care facility in the state. Wellshire has a robust community with activities 7 days a week. If your loved one is in need of a memory care facility, please get in touch with my friends at Wellshire. Set up a tour or learn more at wellshiremn.com. That's WEALSHIREMN.com. Where'd Alex go? Would she quit the show or?
Her children
Yeah.
were probably causing havoc.
Oh, you think that's what it is?
That
They're
would be
stirring
my
the pot
guess.
up there.
My guess is.
I would imagine. Ladies and gentlemen, Trevor Anderson. So Trevor, we got to talk to you about this. So you grew up where in Wisconsin?
I was born in central Wisconsin, Merrill, Wisconsin,
Okay.
and then moved closer to the Twin Cities.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I went to high school in Baldwin, grew up in
Oh, yeah.
Woodville. So speaking of fireworks, that's all Baldwin's like major export is.
Oh, that's
Oh, really?
exit, it's just like 3 gigantic
Oh,
fireworks and then an A&W. So it's like the
I
one-stop
think
shop
there's a
on the way
Ford
up to the
dealership there.
cabin.
There's a Ford dealership there. I know that for sure.
But yeah, and then came to the Twin Cities. Like I said, my parents' extended family all from Minnesota, so like Minnesota's always felt home. So came to U of M, and
I gotta be honest
Stuck
with
around.
you. I mean, I grew up in Minneapolis, but I've always considered Minnesota and Wisconsin be the same place.
yeah,
It's like-
I call it Minnesconsin.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's the same thing. We just like to give each other, some
No question.
with our sports teams or whatever.
I mean, the Packers are so
sports- Yeah,
far
Packers
away.
are so much better than ours.
Well, they
That's
are.
why.
They've won a
Mhm.
few Super Bowls, but you know.
Yeah.
Well, I think the quintessential Minnesconsin thing that I saw this like 20 years ago walking by a souvenir shop, and I'll never forget it because it's just like how they didn't even try. So they had a shirt in the window in Vikings colors, and it said something like, "I may be stupid, but at least I'm not a Packers fan."
Oh,
Right underneath that shirt was another shirt in Packers colors that said, "I may be stupid, but at least I'm not a Vikings fan."
There you go.
So you have the same shirt selling, or same shop selling 2 shirts with the opposite message on it right next to each other. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to go into this shop because they're Vikings fans like me.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's kind of made up, and I think everyone
Yeah, they're
knows
like,
it.
hey, we'll take both of your money.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly
I
right.
saw a T-shirt yesterday that I don't know. Maybe you guys think it's funny. His T-shirt said, on medication for your protection.
Oh, okay.
There's layers to that.
Does that feel funny? Does it feel worrisome? How's it feel to you?
Yeah, that's
I
the
was like,
problem.
I don't know about that. Maybe I'd stay away from him.
Yeah.
You know, the one great thing about Minnesota and Wisconsin is all the way from the southern border to the northern border. So you start at Duluth, there's Duluth and Superior. Everywhere on the border, there's a town all the way down the border. One's in Minnesota and one's in Wisconsin. I've had, you know, I used to work at Capitol Records back in the day. So it was I had the central United States. So I used to go to Wisconsin all the time. I'm telling you, I was born in Minneapolis. Well, not Minneapolis. I was born in Long Prairie, a small town up north, but I was born in Minnesota, but I have loved Wisconsin as much as Minnesota my whole life. I saw the good sides of both, I guess.
Yeah.
I love Wisconsin.
Wisconsin's pretty.
It is very pretty.
Yeah. I was just there last weekend visiting the in-laws, and know exactly which cheese shops to stop at.
What in-laws?
My wife's family.
How old are you?
37.
I thought you were like 18. Doesn't he look like he's about 18 years
Well,
old? Like,
You get
what
to
do
a
you
certain,
think?
you get to a certain age and
Like,
everybody
what?
starts looking like they're 15.
That's true.
Yeah.
My daughter's about to turn 4 next week, so next time you see me, I'll look like I'm 67.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah, my
right.
my
Andy
son's
has a
turning
trick.
4 in November. So there
Awesome.
you go.
No, it's terrific. So you've been married how many years?
8,
And you've been doing comedy how many years?
like 15.
So she knew better?
Yeah, I know. I always tell her.
Wow.
I was doing this before we
Gamble.
started
Big
dating.
gamble.
Very true.
She
Can't get mad at me for doing it.
no, she is an incredibly supportive wife.
She was
So
hoping you'd grow out of it, maybe.
No, I don't think
No? Okay.
I mean, when we met, I was in school for a music degree, so I think she knew that there was she was
No
going to
work
be doing the
involved.
heavy lifting
There's
either
no
way.
future here. Well, do you do a lot of like cross country travel
For like work and stuff.
for your
For
comedy?
gigs, yeah, I mostly just kind of stomp around the Midwest. you
Yeah.
know.
See, that's the hard part is when you're going from LA to New
Oh,
York
man.
every other
Yeah.
weekend and
Yeah.
you're never ever home.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I think, on this side of the pandemic, we've kind of we realize like, oh, you don't have to really go to New York or LA to make it.
Yeah.
Some
Right.
people, yeah. I mean, obviously, maybe I'm partially just trying to convince myself that because I have a house across the street from an elementary school, and I'm like, you know what? You can't get that in New York or LA,
Right.
but we got a great airport. We got a great local comedy scene in the Twin Cities, and you can make a living doing it.
Mhm.
I'm glad that that's still a thing. 'Cause I remember Louis Anderson used to tell comedians who wanted to break into the business and they'd ask him what they should do. And he said, move to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
It's a great place to get started. Very supportive
Mhm.
audiences, lots of comedy clubs, people show up.
But you don't have that insane cost of living
You
like you
don't-
do on
yeah.
the coast.
Well,
Right.
it's getting
And you're not,
worse.
a small fish in a gigantic pond.
Right.
Well, that
Like
too,
you can
yeah.
develop
Yep.
skills here. You can get paid. And this beautiful thing that's been happening the last couple of years is open mics are now turning into more like showcases where there's a couple paid spots. So now instead of me being like, hey, I'm going to go leave the house for 2 hours to go tell 5 minutes a joke for free.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can be like, I'm going to go to this brewery where they put up a budget and I'm going to make $100 to like work on like a good,
Yeah,
like
good
15
idea,
minutes. That's a quarter of my next album.
Yeah.
You
That's
know, like,
nice. Yeah.
so it's not, it's not paying the mortgage, but it's also,
It's
that's
not
the tank of
going into
gas.
debt,
That's
right.
Mhm.
yeah. So I think it's kind of interesting, and we're starting to see little satellite things like in Hudson, Wisconsin.
Yeah,
My
yep.
buddy Ben Katzner, he's on the shows tonight that I'm doing. He just found a bar in Wisconsin that they're like, hey, we got a little room, let's do comedy. And
Who is that we just had on 2 weeks ago? He was talking about this app where there's just open calls for comedians and you can just run around. It's like an
Interesting.
Uber for comedians.
You remember that, Andy?
Was that, well, let's see, you said 2 weeks ago?
I think it was 2 weeks ago. He
2 weeks ago.
He talked about how easy
Oh, that
it
was
is to
J.
get-
Elvis Weinstein and Joel.
Yeah.
Jay Elvis.
Yeah,
Probably.
there's some app that you can just.
I did not know. I've known
Interesting.
him for 40 years, he said, Andy.
I think so, yeah.
40 years I've known Jay
Well,
Elvis.
it wouldn't have been 40 because you weren't on KQ 40 years ago.
Yeah, I
You
was
were
now. yeah.
almost 40 years because it was right before I was born. So it would have been like 39.
Yeah.
Close enough, I suppose.
But I mean, and the other thing that, well, I might as well say it because it's going to be stuck in my head the rest of the time. Most people do not realize when Louis Anderson started, he was a prop comic. They
Really?
did not. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Nobody knows that.
What were his props?
Yeah. What?
Oh, he always
Do you
had these
remember?
stuffed things and all.
Stuffed things.
You know, I
Right.
stuff things and other things.
Well, that's-
Pinatas? Pinatas?
Classic
Various items.
prop comedy.
So where are your shows this week?
I've got shows at Acme tonight and tomorrow,
Tomorrow,
and
very
then
good.
going up to the cabin for the weekend. Like
Yeah.
you're supposed
Like
to do.
everyone
Yeah.
else. Yep.
Yep, you and
Yeah.
everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised you're not already there.
Yeah, well, I mean, when Acme asks you to, these shows are really cool. They're I'm hosting and headlining, and it's a showcase that is showcasing two of the new MCs that they just hired.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of an intro, like, hey, like here's the new people. Yeah, it's exciting that I get to do both. Bookend the show, like open it up, welcome people
Yeah.
and introduce the new hires who I'm good friends with. Lily Meyer and Ben Katzner, two really quality comics. And then Elise Cole, who already works at Acme, she's in town, so I was like, get on the show, come on, and then
Yeah, that's great. That is one. I mean, people, in my position of the whole situation, all the rest of it, being around, I started at KQRS in 1986 or whatever it was, and was on before that, worked at Capitol before that. But almost all of the guys I'm talking about back then are not around anymore. So that's tough. I mean, that part was very, very tough for me because all those people that I knew and laughed and they were the first ones that came on my show because nobody had ever had comedians on the radio before I did here.
really,
I don't know why.
yeah.
And that was 40 years ago. But why wouldn't you have comedians on? What do you? They're
Maybe they didn't want to be upstaged or
That's
something.
probably what it
Yeah.
was. That's what I was thinking. Hey, I have comedians in to laugh and have a good time.
Yeah.
Not don't try to be funnier than me, man.
Now,
It's
I
like,
wonder
what?
too. I mean, you hear all these things about how people under 35, they're really not drinking anymore. They're not doing drugs, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I wonder if that whole, self-destructive
Could be.
gene is starting to go away.
I wonder.
Yeah, I know there's, you can only see so many of your friends,
Right.
ruin either their
Yeah.
careers, lives, or whatever based on
Or-
those things. And
Or all the above.
yeah, until you start to, really think about, what's really important, and, I grew up doing comedy, playing in bands, bartending and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
the pandemic hit and I was like, well, I guess it's time to sit home and drink. And then we have a kid
Yeah.
and now I'm like, well, I can't live like that anymore,
Right.
So it's like, I can't be up all night doing gigs or whatever, driving back and then also get up to get a toddler ready,
Right.
because like some mornings that's a 2-parent job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or more.
So I can't just like roll over in bed like, oh no, I'm hungover from the show last night. It's like, no, you got to
Right.
step up and make some bananas with peanut butter on it.
Are younger
Just the right
people-
way.
Yeah,
Slice just so.
Yeah.
I want to get the bread.
Are younger
Not that
people going
bread.
to see comedy?
Yeah, I think so. I
Good,
think there's
because they got an attitude now. I just read a bunch of articles about this, and by coincidence, Kath and I walked our dog this morning, and these two young women nearly pushed us out to the side to get by us.
really
Didn't say
Very
excuse me.
rude.
Didn't say excuse me. Didn't say anything. And I was reading some articles about this. How old do you say?
37.
37. So they'd be younger than you by 15 years probably. In their early 20s or whatever. But they are just not courteous. They're not. Are they going to like comedy? Do you think?
I don't know. And I hope they check it out because it
I
sounds
hope
like they
so.
could use a laugh.
Exactly.
Lighten
Have a
up
good time.
already.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is, it's easy to be cynical. And, like when I came
Right.
in, we were talking about the news was some heavy stuff and there's
yeah.
some dark places in this world. And, that not to make light of any of that, but I think it's important that there's also spaces where you can just kind of,
Absolutely.
like
Get away from it.
yeah, I know plenty of people who they can do comedy that's like brilliant, political, slight, like the in the
Right.
moment, and good for them. But there's such a short shelf life on that, and even then you risk running. I'm just going to cut the room in half by even mentioning someone's name,
Exactly.
So I don't know. I
Yeah.
always try to make my stuff pretty lighthearted, just everyday
Well,
life
that's good.
stuff.
That's good. In any case, I mean, it's been very important to me, and it just came up because of some national news and all the rest of it. But I grew up very, very poor, so for us in my family, if it weren't for the Ed Sullivan Show and Johnny Carson, people like that bringing comedians on, I don't know if I'd have ever laughed.
Right.
You know, I remember as a small boy watching the Ed Sullivan Show, and of course the Beatles came on there. That didn't hurt. But he always had comedians on. Johnny Carson, I believe, was the first talk show host to have comedians on. They didn't before that. I just don't see a world without comedy because since I've been, 8, 9 years old, there's always been comedians making me laugh, having a great time. So it's as strong as it ever has been right now, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's always evolving and developing too. That's one thing that's it's a double-edged sword with comedy, is it doesn't really age well. You know what I mean? Like you watch some of the stuff that they were getting away with on like some of those older things where it's like Steve Martin ages pretty well.
Yeah.
He's just been a goofball.
He and Marty,
that's all he.
Short. Yep, that's
but
true.
and so the other side of that is okay. You shouldn't be doing the same jokes you were doing 15 years ago.
Right.
I was doing the COVID basement cleaning a few years ago. I was like, all right, it's time to open these boxes we haven't looked at since we moved in, And I found some of my old first joke books.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, ooh, maybe some, stuff I forgot about. I was just like, nope. There was a page that the heading was the good stuff. And I was like, oh no. I need to go back and call some clubs and apologize who were booking me back then.
But people go through that. I was trying to think of the comedian's name that was on Ed Sullivan, which was a live show at that time. And they were not responding to his comedy. Very well-known guy. Nice Jewish boy. At the end of his act, he went, by the way, this is for you, and this is for you. He gave everybody, the cameras, the finger, everybody in the audience. Who was that, Andy, that gave everybody the finger?
I don't know.
Well, you could look it up.
Jewish guy that gave the camera the finger.
Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan.
That's an easy
I know
Google.
the guy's
Come
name,
on,
but
Andy.
Easy search right there.
Let's
shouldn't be that
get it
difficult.
together.
Let's find
But
out.
that would have been in the 60s. So people giving you the finger in the 60s would have been very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be, because I remember seeing that. I was like, wow, my God. He just, they didn't laugh though.
Yeah.
I don't know, who knows why they didn't laugh, but they didn't, because he normally.
Well, Ed says that Jackie Mason gave him the finger.
It was Jackie Mason. That's exactly who it was. Yep. Very good.
That
Andy.
tracks.
He
Also
gave the
known
audience
as
the finger.
Yaakov Moshe Maza. But Jackie Mason
Jackie
also.
Mason.
Yeah.
Joko Marasa.
Hey, he's from Wisconsin. Sheboygan.
Really?
Who is?
Sheboygan.
Jackie Mason.
What a
I
fun
didn't
word.
know Jackie Mason was from Sheboygan.
I didn't either.
My
Now we
God.
do.
Now we know. But I mean, that's comedy to me has been a huge part of my life, because I was always happy seeing comedians and all the rest of it. I don't remember, a lot of peaks and valleys. Maybe other people do, but I've had comedians around me now for the last 50, 55, 60 years, something like that. I think we're always going to need comedy, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
I would hope people understand that, have a sense of humor about it. Now, comedy has to change quite a bit, because you look back at some of the old shows and you're like, oh my God, you got away with telling that joke.
Yeah.
That was a whole different setup. What are you doing over there?
Sorry, I almost dropped my phone and
Oh.
Jude, and we almost fell off the chair.
You almost
It was just
the
fell
mic
off
almost
the
It was just a very
ripped
strange
off. Yeah, it was
situation.
very.
Oh.
It's funny because when you were saying, we need comedy, I was just about to say that comedy creates itself. Like,
Yeah, there you
like,
go.
Yeah.
You people with toddlers know that too. It's like I can try and write the funniest thing, but my kid's gonna come around and say something that I'm like, well, okay, you're better than me at this. And you're only
Yeah,
4,
there you go.
because it's just so genuine and just in the moment.
The other day, Andy was over with his 2 children, and they were leaving.
Mom, you have a voicemail going on
What's
your
happening?
phone.
Oh, sorry.
What are
See
you
the
doing?
comedy.
What are you doing?
I'm just
This is
a
for
disaster.
Catherine Brandt.
I have a lot
Social
going
Security
on.
number.
Yeah, good God.
We're trying to plan
Regarding
a
your
trip.
bank account.
I'm going to turn your mic off for a second.
No. I think it's just me.
I have things.
There we
Okay.
almost
Anyway.
Very
I have
important. Your
things
mic
to
is
say.
off. Just put it on
Right.
your body and then
Don't worry
Mother.
about it. What are you doing?
this is such a professional.
There
Are we good?
are.
Are we
There
good?
you go. Now you go.
arrangement.
All
Okay,
right.
what were
What
the
was I
things you were
saying?
gonna say?
Oh, so Ethan's 3.5. You know how funny they are. And they're trying to gather all their stuff, the stroller, they had stuff from the grocery store. Andy bought a pair of shoes. All of this stuff is trying to get out the door and go to the car. So Ethan wants to carry something. And
Oh, that's
Melissa
right.
offered him her water bottle. And I said, oh, that's a big responsibility.
Mhm.
And he says, no, I can't carry it. It's too big of a responsibility.
Well, there you have it, you know.
Very
I want to help,
suggestible.
but actually not.
Yeah.
It's too,
Too big of a responsibility to carry a water bottle.
No
He's
question.
gonna
you
use that
sold it
one
too
for
much.
forever now.
It was hilarious.
Trevor, do you think and I don't know who it would be or what it would be or how it would be, because it made a lot of sense when Richard Pryor came on the scene and just blew everything up, because nobody had ever seen a black comedian do that kind of comedy before.
Sure.
And he just got huge. There have to be other doors that have to be open too, I would imagine, out there. People, look, I'm still pissed off at Richard because I can't say the name of his first 3 albums, but that's a major problem for me.
Yeah.
But comedy to me, and I think our whole family, don't you think, Catherine, all 3 generations, comedy is a big part of the family.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it is. We get together and laugh about stuff and have a great time. And
I mean, we've done a 13-year-long comedy podcast, so I'd say
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose
There's a
part
commitment
of it.
there.
Yes,
Yeah, a
I
little bit.
guess so.
But I think I get worried about that once in a while people going to get away from going to see show. I hope not.
I think to your point about the 20-something-year-olds that are rude and obnoxious or whatever, like I think the way comedy is going now is there are still clubs that are very important, like Acme is
absolutely
the cornerstone of comedy in the Twin Cities, and there's clubs all over the place, and that I don't think will ever go away. The traditional, like, come on and get your tickets, see the touring headliners, also see the local openers, leave after a good time. But there's also, I think, an expansion like that are filling in gaps of maybe people who are, I get this all the time from, because I'm from the woods, and people be like, oh, how's Acme? It's downtown. It's fine. The only thing I can afford to do is park in that neighborhood. It's not scary. But there's perceptions of that. So I think we are currently seeing an expansion of the brewery in, I just did one, Lupulin Brewery in Big Lake. It was fantastic. They have a event space, probably 80 people. 80 people weren't going to drive to Acme to see that. So it's easier for 2 comics from the Twin Cities to expand the radius.
Absolutely.
And then there's this thing, Don't Tell Comedy. It's a national thing where it's sort of like speakeasy comedy where it says the general area and the time, but you don't know which comedians are on it. And you find out the day of, it's at this automotive shop, and they set up chairs in the back. And it's sort of like a guerrilla approach. And these are selling out. People are just like, I'm going to go see comedy. There's no names attached to it. They're like, I'm going to be surprised with who I see. And these people, they'll leave with like, oh, I found 3 new comedians that I've never heard of before. I'll follow them online. And I don't know how important that is. I hope not too important because I don't have that many followers, but
that's why you're doing it's interesting you bring that up, because I was just thinking about the fact that how this end of it has changed quite a bit too. Sure. Because of this very thing I'm looking at and we're on right now. I would have friends that would always come in and do, maybe a Thursday show and a Saturday show with me, either on the radio or on this show, or most likely both. Now you get a lot of people, the very, very big names, they don't do these shows anymore because they have their own podcasts.
Right.
And that's changed things a lot. So I think it's great, the fact that Acme is one of those kind of places where a lot of people do start their careers, because we still have access to very funny people who are starting their careers. Without Acme and a few other places, I don't know if that'd be happening here. You know? I mean, there's like we said, Acme is great. And I've been fortunate enough to work there for, 10 plus years, but we're also fortunate that, like you said, there's all these other great clubs that are fostering local talent in the Twin Cities, like Sisyphus Brewing. Right. I have a monthly show there that we just had last night. It's called the Punchline Punch Out. And it's kind of a gimmick show where I give the comics a word like 2 days before the show, and they have to write all new stuff based on whatever that word idea. And 2 comics have the same word. So you see like the variations in writing styles and performance styles. And it's just kind of a hybrid open mic that like people can see like, oh, there's talent from, you get people who've been doing it for 6 months, 6 years, and people ask me like, oh, can I do that Punch Out show? Because it forces them to like
try something new at a very low stakes. And it's kind of cool to see like my friend Ellie Hino, she's a great local comedian. It's like one of the closing bits on her album was from that show like 5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Like she never would have wrote that joke if I wasn't like, gave her a word, and she's like, oh my God, I remember a story about taking my kid on a roller coaster before he shouldn't have been,
Oh,
Yeah.
like little Sage. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be on this thing.
I do not like this ride.
Jesus Christ.
That was at Disney World, wasn't it?
It
That was
was
Thunder
Mine
Mountain
Train.
or whatever.
It was Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yeah.
Mine Train.
Dan,
Not a
Dan and
fan.
Sage were sitting behind me, and I was cracking
I know,
up.
and Dan recorded
so
the whole
hard.
thing because he was like, Sage was just like,
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
well, because that roller coaster is weird because
That's
you
nice.
start like in the mines and you're listening to Snow White
And there's a
sing,
lot
and
of
you're
kids
just like
on it, and it's in the
floating
little kid
very
area.
slowly, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you just like jut up and like it's like very fast. It was just like it was jarring for me
Yes.
even because and then you slow down again. It's really weird.
Well, it's like the dwarf mine ride or something. What's
It's
it called?
a Seven Dwarfs Mine
Yeah,
Train.
so you think it's going to be
Yeah.
for kids, right?
I mean, it's a roller coaster, but the way that it goes between like one of those slow
Right.
rides with pleasant music to whipping you around
Yeah.
is just
Jarring.
kind of
Yeah.
especially for I think at the time he was 5.
it was so funny.
If that was a while ago.
It was a while
Yeah,
ago.
he might have been
I don't-
4.
he might
you
have
could,
been
you
4.
could make money with that.
Yeah.
Put a sticker on his face and post it.
There you go. We'll take a quick break. Be right back in a couple of minutes. Trevor, time for the shows tonight is what?
8:00 tonight and tomorrow.
8:00 tonight
Yep.
and tomorrow. Excellent. At
Acme Comedy Company.
Comedy Company. Still love that place.
Yeah.
I still love the fact that every time I talk to Chad Daniels, he points out the owner of the club walked up to him and said, Chad Daniel, you know headliner. Chad's been great about that.
That's a
Yeah.
great story.
That's a great story, isn't it? What?
It's your favorite story.
It is.
I love
Anytime
that
someone
story.
says
Favorite
Acme, he's
story.
like, listen
Well,
to
the other thing I
That is
want
a
to talk
very
about,
funny-
when I get back, I want to talk about the fact that our children here, our son and our daughter, have been around comedians their whole lives. That's not normal.
It's pretty true.
Well,
Yeah.
it is true. I mean, I get calls from Nick Swartzen. How are Andy and Alex? It's like, didn't you call me? I want to know how you are, which is a great thing. I think that's wonderful. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Let me tell you about my bank. That'd be North American Banking Company. When it comes to banking, it's all about trust, and that's what you get with them. They've been around since 1998. They've always made it clear they're here to give you a better banking experience with a focus on the local community. And you won't be dealing with some AI chatbot. You'll get straight answers and quick decisions from real people that know you and your situation and are always ready to help. So if you're tired of the big national banks and want something better, stop by and see my friends at North American Banking Company. Visit nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. You're listening to us. Your customers are listening to us, and they'll hear me promote your business. The Tom Bernard Podcast attracts thousands of listeners who are loyal, engaged, and ready to support businesses they trust. Our podcast has helped numerous businesses increase traffic, sales, and brand recognition. We're not just about ads. We're about results. Whether you're a local business on a national, or you might be a national brand, maybe. We offer custom advertising packages designed to fit your unique needs and goals. Our audience spans multiple demographics, allowing you to target your ideal customers with precision, from millennials to baby boomers and everyone in between. With the broad reach of this show and a passionate following, your business will see increased visibility and awareness, translating into more customers and sales. Judy, 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 Judy. What do you think of that, Jude? Singing your name. In the studio, Mr. Anderson, Trevor Anderson, is with us, and he has a couple of shows tonight, tomorrow night. Acme, a great place. Are there any people left that haven't been to Acme? Everybody's been to Acme by now, I would guess.
There's there are. I meet people constantly. Like,
Really?
I've been meaning to check that place out. I'm like,
Really?
you've been meaning to. It's been around for 30.
It has.
Yeah, it's and I always tell people, just go any night. It's probably someone great.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is.
the beauty of the internet now is like, maybe give them a Google. See if
Mhm.
everyone's
Yeah.
got clips.
Right.
There's when I was first emceeing at Acme, I worked with Ryan Stout. He's a really great California guy, and he at the end of his set, he said something like, we all learned something tonight, and some of you learned you should look up the comedian before you come before you hire the babysitter.
Oh, man. a lot of pressure.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I think like to your point, you think, oh yeah, it's a renowned, like ubiquitous with comedy in the Twin Cities, but there's people who just like, for whatever reason have missed it, but their Tuesday open mic, it's free.
Right.
You can sign up for birthday tickets and all that stuff. Like they make it pretty easy to open the door. All you got to do is show up.
Do you think most people, I mean, not the greater number of people, but do you think most people have a good enough sense of humor to even tell a joke?
Yeah, I think,
I mean, so.
Well, so every summer they do the funniest person contest at the club. And I mean, every club does that. I think, like there's a Gambit Brewing in St. Paul. They're running, funniest St. Paul comedians. And there's all these contests in the summer because like comedy does take a hit in the summer. I mean, especially here.
Oh, yeah.
Especially around the 4th of July.
Yeah, because it's like
exactly.
People aren't like, they're just, there's more things to do, and there's only 3 months to do the outside things.
That's right. That's true.
So, but yeah, that's why I think they do these contests in the summer. It's like, hey, low risk, just come in, try telling some jokes, and you see everyone from like, oh, I'm the office funny guy, and you're like, I bet you think that. Has anyone else in the office mentioned this to you? Or?
I'm hilarious after 15 drinks.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I was trying to think,
you're not.
what is the place over? It's it might be on University Avenue. It used to be a comedy club there. I don't think it's there anymore. It was one of the first places that Louis worked. And you and I went over there to see somebody.
University? Boy, I don't remember
University,
that
just over kind of.
Oh, Knuckleheads or.
I don't remember the name.
Rib ticklers or
rib ticklers, something like that. But I was supposed to meet up with somebody over there. I can't remember who it was. And I walked in and I was sitting there. And there was a young man on stage wearing a miner's helmet. He had the whole thing on it and all the rest of it. And he kept telling jokes and there was literally no response. I'm like, oh my, I mean, it's painful for me. And I'm not the one telling the jokes. And finally, I will never forget this. People need to understand it takes some courage to get up on stage and tell jokes.
It does.
I don't think people really understand. It takes a lot of courage to get up there because this guy told his about 7th joke. No one responded. His head dropped down and he just went, please laugh.
Oh
God. It's like, oh God.
Like the saddest thing I've ever heard.
It was one of the saddest moments of my life. This poor kid, and it never did happen. He did not get one laugh.
Oh my gosh.
And I think he finally realized it was time to get off the stage.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't horrible or anything. It wasn't all that funny, but it wasn't horrible.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I wonder how many people want to do it and they have an experience like that and they just quit rather than than really work harder on making it funny.
Yeah. Well, actually, now you say that, one of my good friends, Steph Roselle, she's a local comic, actually related to Louis Anderson. And I think she's his niece or something. And so she's like, I'm going to give it a shot. And she was just telling me about this. This was a few years ago, didn't go well. And she's like, well, I gave it a shot and then just didn't do it. And then she got the itch again, tried it, and then kept going with it. And now it's like, you just got to get over those hiccups because that's the daunting thing. It's the instant feedback.
Oh yeah.
I've played in bands and stuff. You play to a dead room, whatever. I've played with my friends in the basement before to nobody who cares, So at least, and you can just turn up and pretend they don't exist. But with stand up, you are very naked and solo and you can't just turn to the drummer and go, well, I guess we're just drinking tonight. Yeah. It's rough to experience that.
Oh, I got to believe it's not great at all.
And the first few times I did stand-up went great because it was in college. And I was like, I've always wanted to try to do this. And I had all my friends come and they were like, yeah. So I had like a little home field advantage. And then I was like, I really do want to do this. So I need to learn how it feels. So I went to Grumpy's. Used to be the notorious, if you didn't bomb there, you weren't there, So, but yeah, it's not a good feeling, even if you're prepared for it, but like I said, it's that instant feedback. I get that with jokes where you say something, nobody laughs. I'm like, I thought there was something there.
Yeah.
And then you just don't say it.
Well, I feel like sometimes things are funny in your head
Mhm.
and it just doesn't translate to verbal language.
Yeah.
Right.
It strikes
Yeah,
you as
that's true.
hilarious,
Yeah.
but nobody else gets it.
We'll have to get her on the show. He's the niece of Louis.
Yeah,
She
Steph.
is?
Yeah, she actually just
Steph.
she watched my kiddo last night, so I could do a show.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, I'm surprised she
Babysitter
hasn't-
and comedian.
Yeah, I don't know if she wants me to advertise the babysitting, but she did great, by the way. She
because Louis not only become a great, showing up on the show all the time, he became a great friend of the whole family. Every time he came to town, he'd go visit my mother before she died. And as a matter of fact, well, the last time that I went over to see my mother, this is not many years ago now, but Louis was over there seeing her. He was in town to do a couple of things. And as I'm walking down the hall, I can hear Louis Anderson and my mother talking about what a pain in the ass I am. That's real. Well, thank you. I feel much better about
It's a common
it now.
topic.
Yeah, it's a common topic. So,
Yeah.
But I think that's the kind of the reason I love comedy so much is because it fits in so well with real life. Does everyone understand you need to laugh? You need to have comedy and have a good time. Or are there some people that just don't ever want to laugh?
Yeah, I don't know. I think for me, I think it's a balance of doing the performing aspect and then like when I'm just hanging out with friends or whatever, like just remember you're not trying to make everyone laugh all the time.
That's true.
Just listen to someone, even if it's not particularly funny or interesting,
I understand that.
because that's a part of it too, is just living life, like last summer. And I had an album come out in October, and from October through April, I was just on the road all the time. Just I'm like, all right, the album's out. Got to try to, push that and then create the next new hour. And, like I said, my family's super supportive, but it was too much. Like every weekend, this is the reason, or the way I noticed it was too much is I took a last minute thing at a club in Milwaukee. It was like Thursday. They're like, oh, we need someone to fill in as the feature, the middle spot. And, that doesn't pay as much, but to get your foot in the door at a new place, it's a good opportunity. So my wife was like, yep, go for it. I got this. And I came back Sunday and my daughter was like, I was like, all right, tag, I'm in. You go, my wife, go take a shower, whatever, take a nap.
Right.
So I was playing with my daughter in her room and she's like, okay, Dad, let's play baby ducks. You'll be the sad baby duck and I'll be the daddy duck that has to leave for shows.
Okay.
And I was like, are you the sad baby duck? Like, where's that coming from? And she was smiling. She's like, okay, bye-bye, Daddy. And I was like, oh no, she's going to talk to someone about that in 10, 15 years.
Whoops.
So this summer I've just like really kind of pulled back and just enjoyed the local, like I said, pull up at a tap room that has a show, but then Acme, they're like, hey, do you want to do this Wednesday, Thursday before the 4th of July? I was like, I was probably going to leave for the lake a couple days earlier, but this sounds better than sitting in traffic on 94.
That's for sure.
Is YouTube still a big thing for comedians?
I think so. Yeah, the social media, and I'm not the best one to speak on this because I agree. It's something you got to do. And there are plenty of local people who are doing great stuff, getting lots of hits and stuff. And I think anything you can do to broaden your appeal and your scope is great, but it takes a lot of effort. And a lot of the people that I know that are doing well with that don't have a toddler, So it's like, but yeah, I remember one of my best friends, she's in Madison now in college. She's like, I remember freshman year of college. This was 2006. We were packing up, getting ready to go home for the summer. And you had YouTube up and you were like, this is the next thing. Everybody's going to be on YouTube.
Right.
And she keeps telling me that to this day. And I'm like, yeah, I wish I would have taken
my advice.
2006 Trevor's advice and started putting some sand. But, then there's the receipts too. Like there's the stuff that wasn't the good stuff.
Right.
That's kind of why I waited
true.
15 years to like record a full album, because I wanted to make sure it was front to back what I wanted to present, kind of the arc of getting, developing from a dumb 20-year-old dude who's like, I'm funny, to getting married, to, keep making it through the pandemic, to starting a family. And then that's kind of the arc of the album. And, there's not really room for my hot takes on Ninja Turtles that I was writing in
Well, that's a
2007.
different deal, yes.
Yeah, there's
No
stuff on the
question.
internet out there that I wrote 20 years ago that you can still find if you know how to look for it. And it's all just, I thought I was very funny when I was, 18 years old.
Right.
Everyone does. No one is.
Everyone does know
Generally
it.
speaking.
I have never thought about this, and you were just talking and brought up the word album a couple of times. But when I was a kid, I was in my 20s or whatever, you literally had to go to the record store and buy an album, Richard Pryor or, that
Bill Cosby.
Bill
He had a
Cosby
bunch of
definitely back then.
I know.
Are sales much better now because you just sit down, you hit a button, and you got the album?
I don't think so.
No.
I've had a couple of tracks spinning on Sirius XM, which is helpful.
Mhm.
I bought physical CDs to sell. And
you did? Okay.
I asked the guy at Copycats, I was like, what's the smallest order? Because my mom wants one. It's like, I don't care if I have 199 left over, but my mom wants a physical CD.
Yeah.
And so I have 195 of them. No, sometimes people pick them up after shows or whatever.
Yeah.
But
right.
I think the album is more of proof of concept these days of like, I've stuck with this long enough to see this through. Like it, and my album's clean. It's 100% top to bottom. No even hex or dangs or whatever. Just as a challenge. Well, I mean, at that point, it's like. But I just wanted to, see if I could do it first off, and then that's
it's harder.
And but that like gets you more. It opens you up for more opportunities, corporate work,
right. Yeah.
I do, a decent amount of like company parties and stuff where like HR people are just like biting their nails. Like, don't say,
Don't say heck.
Yeah.
No heck.
God darn it.
We'll take our last break. Be right back in a couple of seconds. Let me tell you about my bank. That'd be North American Banking Company. When it comes to banking, it's all about trust. And that's what you get with them. They've made, they've been around since 1998. They've always made it clear that they're here to give you a better banking experience with a focus on the local community. And you won't be dealing with some AI chatbot either. You'll get straight answers and quick decisions from real people that know you and your situation and are always ready to help. So if you're tired of being the big national bank guy, want something better, stop by and see my friends, and they are my friends in North American Banking Company. Visit nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Ooh, leading in with real sweet music now. You got 5 more minutes?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, I want to make sure because
I got nothing. I got to hit Menards on the way back.
Menards, what are you buying at
Save
Menards?
big money.
Yeah. I'm working on some picnic tables for my kids' school for like the little kids. It's pretty adorable. They're like little picnic tables.
How much progress have you been making the past 3 weeks of rain?
Not much.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, today I got to
there
hit
you
the
go.
lumberyard
Yeah.
on the way back.
Yeah, we're a couple months ago, we got a free like old play set, and we're gonna like fix it up, take out the old boards, put the new ones in. I got about halfway done, and then it just started raining, and it never stopped. Just been sitting in our front yard ever since. I want to try to finish that next week.
Well, you can take comfort knowing that since it was raining, they weren't going to be playing on it anyway.
That is
That's
very
true.
true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I know.
That
He's
is true.
barely been able to use our yard, which is like, not great.
Yeah,
for a
you got it all
3-year-old.
fenced in and great
Yep.
for the kids.
Yep.
And then,
I just feel like it hasn't been raining that much. I've been outside constantly.
Oh, it's been
No,
raining.
it's been nothing.
Understand.
It's been nothing but wet at our house
Oh.
for a month.
Well, you do
different
live in
areas.
Watertown.
That is true.
Something I found out, and this is public information, so I'm not, ratting the guy out or anything, but Menards has been a big part of everybody's life. And John Menard lives in Wisconsin.
Right. Eau Claire, I think.
Yeah.
Or that's where they're based.
Yep.
I
they're
send
based
all
in
the
Eau Claire.
rebates to Elk Mound.
No question about it. But, you've been going to Menards forever to pick this up, that, over, blah, blah, blah.
11%.
Got to know a couple of people who know John really, really well. And like I said, this is public information, so I'm not ratting him out. You know how much John Menard's worth?
Oh, yeah.
More than 11%.
$25 billion.
Wow.
We could bump it up to 12% rebates. I feel like.
You really could. You could bump it up, man. $25 billion from selling. Oh, you want a rake?
Well, yeah, what is that? You get a paper sack and whatever you can fill in it. You
I don't
get
think they do that
11%.
anymore.
No, they don't. They used to do that.
I haven't gotten
Oh,
one of
they
those
don't?
in a long,
I used to
long
get
time.
those. I was like, oh, and then I'd always forget to send in
Yeah.
the thing. I was like, whatever.
Well, you get the paper bag. That was my trick like 15 years ago.
He's gaming the system.
I would get the
Yeah,
paper
this is
bag.
Hot tips for things that don't exist anymore.
I got the paper bag, and then
Exactly.
I would go to Menards and I would just fill it up with groceries, and it was my grocery bag that I got for
Yeah.
cheap
Yep.
because it was like 30% off.
Menards has groceries?
Yeah,
yeah,
Oh,
you can get
that's
everything.
right.
Actually,
They
a
sell,
lot.
like,
Weird. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I think they have like
that
an
could be a
entire
commercial for Menards. Just someone, Menards has groceries.
It's true.
They
Yeah.
do. I forgot
Technically,
about
yes.
that.
You
Yeah.
can buy food.
Well, last time we were there, we were like, "Oh yeah, we buy those and we buy those," and it's like they have surprisingly good selection, but they also have like 3 aisles of just like garbage.
I was gonna say, I feel like
Garbage
when we
food.
were kids,
Corn
we would
syrup
go and
hell,
it was like,
yeah.
here's some strange energy drink and Pop Rocks. And
Yeah.
also pretzels.
They have a lot of
a bag
candy
of flour.
and a
It
lot
was
of
like, what?
snacks. Yeah, and
They
a
do.
lot of soda. I remember taking
Yeah.
a picture when I went to Menards for like the second time in my life. It was just an entire aisle of Faygo.
Fago?
And I'm like, what in the hell
What
is
is
this?
Faygo?
It's just like the
Faygo?
shittiest soda you ever drank
I
in your
never even
life.
heard of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
like Shasta used to
Yeah.
be?
Basically, yeah, and
or
they have,
Elf?
like-
oh
It
my
has to be
God, the
Shasta.
worst.
They have like 40 different flavors, and I was like, this is like, it's like an alternate universe where this like soda exists and is popular.
It's basically aluminum can flavored soda.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
Faygo.
that's true.
Yeah.
I will
Faygo
say
and
when
Faygo.
my parents came, when we moved into our house in Northeast Minneapolis, my folks came over from Wisconsin, just across the river,
Sure.
From the old country.
and we
The
went to
old
that
country.
Golden Valley Menards, and
Yep.
it was
Yep.
like my parents had gotten to Disney World. They're like, "Oh, this is
Two
gigantic."
floors.
They're used to the Hudson one. That's
Yeah.
there's an escalator.
Oh, God,
Yeah, Mom, you can take the cart on the escalator.
Oh man.
I used to go to Menards constantly when we lived in Golden
Yeah,
Valley.
you
Oh,
were
yeah.
always
Yeah.
I was always
Menards.
needing something.
You were
I don't
always
know.
there.
Oh,
From the
Alex-
Yard or
Alex and I grew up in Dayton, Minnesota, which I don't know if you even know what that is.
No one does.
Yeah, it's like northwest.
near
Yep.
Elk River,
Yeah.
Rogers
Yeah.
area. Yep.
Yeah, and I remember specifically when the Target came to town.
Oh, we were
Mhm.
so excited.
Everyone
crazy.
was just like, "Oh my God, we have a Target in
Such
town. We don't have to
small
drive
town
45
pleasures.
minutes to get groceries anymore."
Yeah.
Go up for supplies.
Yeah, we can just
Yeah.
go out to
Hitch up the
Target,
wagon.
buy whatever we want. It's going to be incredible. So, and like now it's like, do cities like that even exist anymore?
You
Or if
can't drive 5 minutes without hitting another Target.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a Starbucks.
And
Yeah.
maybe if you go out to like Montana or something, there's probably areas where you're not always 15 minutes from a Walmart.
Oh, there's
but-
definitely there's places in Minnesota and
Yeah.
I was doing a
Wisconsin,
gig in
I
like
remember.
northern Wisconsin, and I
Yes.
had some really hot new stuff about Target. And then I was talking about the one lady just like, "We ain't got a Target up here."
We ain't got
I was like,
no
"But you know what it
Target."
is."
yeah, like you've heard of it.
Yeah,
Just pretend you do.
Yeah.
There it is.
Like,
Not
we don't
relatable,
care.
sir. I'm
Yeah.
I
sorry.
don't
I
understand.
just flip into the deer hunting jokes.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Everybody's crying, laughing.
Yeah.
Tonight, tomorrow night, Trevor Anderson. What's the time of the shows?
8 o'clock
8
at Acme
o'clock.
Comedy Company.
At Acme. If you've never been to Acme, it's.
That's his
I'll talk
French
to me.
accent.
Yeah, we're fancy.
Acme.
Yeah, I saw you opening for Kostaki a couple months ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun week.
Yeah,
Wow,
you probably don't
Kostaki.
remember because I was one of the 7,000 people who came up to you after the show, and I bought some of those little weirdos or whatever they're called.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
I have CDs, but I have even more useless merch, which is like the COVID hobby that my dad and I got into was making like kitchen utensils, like spatulas and stuff, like
Really?
artisanal wooden,
Oh.
like. So I just like bring
It's
a
all the rage these
yeah.
days.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
the merch pitch is that basically I'm a stay-at-home dad with a kid that goes to school, so
Oh,
I got to do
there you
something.
go.
So I just put out a little farmer's market, and people seem to like it. And
Yeah, no, I use them basically every other day, I would say.
Look at that.
There you go.
And I got them for like what, $2 or something like that, because they were just like the weird, like
Scrap
the
wood.
scrap from
Yeah.
making a
So-
spatula.
Yeah, so I make good ones, and then we have what we call Dad's Little Weirdos, because my dad has a wood shop, and a dad with a wood shop cannot throw away any piece of scrap.
Yep.
No.
So then he like whittles and carves them into the little whatever. And yeah, that week I think we just had this pile of these things that my mom's like, nobody's ever gonna buy those. So
Andy did.
so we said, hey, we're gonna say pay whatever you want, and then all the money from those went to the local food shelf
Oh,
because
nice.
it was literally gonna be firewood. So I think we made like $600 doing
Nice.
that.
There you
Yeah.
go.
That's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I looked at them. I was like, I went in my wallet and I'm like, oh, I have, I think $2 on me because I don't carry cash. And they're
Right.
like, sure, take 2 of them. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, use them all the time.
We were going to
They're
bring
great.
them up to the cabin and burn them anyway.
They're great for stirring instant pot meals. That's what I use them for. So there you go. There's your sales pitch. Free advertising on the Tom Bernard podcast.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I want you all to guess what this number is. I've been saving this for the last thing on the show today. I was watching some television this morning. And Jude, stop looking at my
Jude's
like,
telling you the show's over,
Right.
Tom.
is.
Get it
I'm
done.
wrapping it up. That's what I'm doing right now. But I was watching Alfred Hitchcock,
No.
the half-hour show, right?
Like most.
So this
people
would have
do.
been from 1960. Alfred Hitchcock from 1960. It's an older guy that's hitting on a younger woman, wants to marry the younger woman. And he said, my health is not great, and I want you to marry me. And it's going to be very beneficial for you because I'm worth $11 million. And they're sitting at this mansion and it's by the pool and all this stuff. And I'm thinking $11 million, really?
Back in those
He
days.
was a very, very wealthy, $11 million. So I did the comparison. $11 million in 1960 money would now be $118 million.
That is insane.
Inflation
Look it up,
is a
Andy. See if
bitch.
you get the same number. $11 million from 1960 to today.
He should have started Menards. He'd be way better off.
Yeah, billions.
Than that.
Let's see.
A paltry $100
$118 million in what, 65 years.
I got $120.6 million.
It went up since this morning.
Wow.
It went up like 2 million this morning.
I was gonna say like 50 million.
That's what I thought it was going to be.
Wow.
Money's not worth crap.
Well, it's
anymore.
like
$20 million.
well, we were talking about like old media, like from the 1920s and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always funny watching people like barter over a nickel. It's like
Yeah.
a nickel is literally garbage these days.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want this. Get this out of my hand, please.
Yep.
But before that, they were like, oh, nickels, that's a week's salary.
All right, that's good. Trevor, you got to come back very often. We'd love to have you back.
Love to be
It was
back.
great having you sit here schmoozing with us. And the times again tonight, 8 o'clock, and tomorrow night, 8 o'clock.
Yes.
At Acme, a great. If you've never been to Acme, you got to get there anyway. It's a great club. Lots of parking now too, so that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. That's going to do it. We will be
Happy
gone.
4th of July.
Yes,
We're gonna be
we.
on tomorrow. Yeah,
Yep.
go ahead.
Not going to be on tomorrow. Not going to be on Sunday. Not going to be on at all next week.
Listen to our old episodes.
I will be putting
Reflect.
out lost episodes at least every day next week. I'm going to try to put out one for tomorrow. The 4th, there's no point because.
That's true.
Yeah, the 4th is a
Nobody
different
cares.
deal.
And while you are up at the cabin, why not head on over to Twitter, also known as X, go to @TomBernardShow and leave your comment on the Jack's Cafe giveaway tweet.
Very good.
Trevor, you might know this. What are they still called tweets?
I don't know. I don't have that.
Posts,
No one
not
knows.
X.
Yeah, me
Posts.
neither.
No one has
X
any
posts.
idea.
X posts.
X-post. That's a
Stop
terrible
lying at
name.
me.
Almost
I
as bad
know.
as Grand
Tweet
Casino
is
Arena.
tweet's great
Yeah.
branding. X-post is just
I
dumb.
know.
Anyway, this particular contest is going to go till the 14th, and we're going to have 2 winners. So make sure to double your chances by commenting on the thingy.
Woohoo.
Have a great holiday. We'll see you in about 10 days, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, about that.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Got a picture in my pocket reminds me of this was before. Every time I get to see it reminds me how you talking